Hey up! So today we're going to be smoking these monster ribs. So these are just from the supermarket, a rather well-known supermarket. You've got to ask for these at the counter because they don't normally put them out like this. So if you ask the ladies or the gentlemen nicely behind the counter, it's likely that they're going to have a rack of these in the fridge in the back. So when I say monster ribs, I really mean monster ribs. There must be 2 kilos here. I've thrown the wrapper away, so I can't tell you exactly. But it's a good inch to an inch and a half inch thick. There's got to be, God, there must be there must be at least 10, 11 individual ribs on there. But this is a big slab of meat. So the smoker's up and running. I've lit that. We're going to start bringing that up to temperature. First thing I'm going to do now is I'm going to peel off the little membrane on the back. Now, you don't have to do this. It's not critical that it's done. I mean, there's been many a times where I've not bothered, to be honest with you, and it's been fine, you know what I mean? But what you've got is on the back of the bones here, you can see where it's all white, the colour of the bones. You've got like a membrane on there, and what that's going to do is if you leave that on, and smoke won't penetrate through that, and it'll after it's smoked and when it's got a bit, when it's all done, it kind of goes a bit sort of not crispy, but a bit like a papery sort of back on it. So you get a bit of a snap when you bite through them. So if you take it off, the smoke penetrates and they'll just fall apart tender. And yeah, so it's worth doing if you can think ahead. Now all you need to do this really is a blunt knife. Don't use a sharp one, and then some kitchen paper. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get my knife and I'm going to try and work it under a corner of it, so I'll find a bit that's the best. So this corner here looks like it's going to give fairly easily, so I'm just going to work it under the corner, try and get it started using the blunt knife, and then once you've got it started, so I've got a lip of it up there. If you try and pull that with your bare fingers, your fingers are just going to slip through it, you're going to tear it, and it's going to be rather frustrating. So we're going to use a bit of kitchen paper. So fold a bit of kitchen paper up, grip the end that you started with the kitchen paper, hold on to the ribs at the same time obviously, and then start pulling. So sometimes it comes off, and I've seen professionals do this, and it comes off in one foul swoop, and I'm thinking they must have pre-done that. There's no way that can come off in one go like that. What I find most of the time is I get little sort of slivers of the skin come off like that, and it's very frustrating and takes a lot longer than it does when you see other people on YouTube doing it. So I'll get my knife back under, try and work a bit more of it out. So if you can try and get it all off at one end by doing it slowly, then if you're lucky, let's see if I'm going to be lucky. If you're lucky, you will be able to sort of tease it off the end of those bones there. Let's get that bit there. If you're lucky, this is going to come off in, if you're lucky, it's going to come off in one larger sheet like this. See, I'm being lucky now. Once you've got a bit of it, you can grab, you don't have to keep hold of the little corner that you started it on. Once you've got a bit, you can grab it and pull the whole thing. So that's taken off that bit of membrane off the end. As you can see, we've got a big sort of big sheet of this all crinkled up now. I wouldn't bother going to town too much on trying to sort of trim all the rest of it off. You'd be going at it for hours and hours and hours. A little bit of fat's not too bad. What you don't want is the big lumpy bits on it. So I'm just going to try and trim this a little bit. And there we are. So that's as much fat as I need to take off really. So I mean the difference in the feel of the back of the rib. Now you can feel it. You're pressing into sort of meat and it gives a bit more. When that membrane was on, it was a lot tighter. So what we're going to do now is we're going to apply some rub. So I'm just going to go wash my hands before I do anything else. So we're going to apply a rub to all sides of the ribs now. This is just a generic mix rub. Really is going to have salt, paprika, you know, things like that, parsley, coriander, sugar, chili, just a general rub. But I mean, you can choose whatever rub that you like. I mean, we do make a lot of our own rubs. It's nice to try different things and see what works. But for this, just a generic barbecue rub. So I'm going to cover it quite liberally all over the back of them. Don't worry about putting too much on. Any excess will fall off. So I put it on a big sheet of greaseproof paper. Just helps to sort of keep everything in check and just makes tidying up a lot easier. So now we're going to flip these over. And apply the rub in exactly the same fashion to the other side. Try and get it onto the sides of it as well. Give it a good rub in. And that's it. That's all there is to it. So these ribs are now pretty much ready to go into the smoker. So the ribs are in the smoker now. Put a large tray of hot water just beneath them. That's going to do a couple of things. It's going to catch all of the juices that come out of the ribs, but it's also going to create sort of steam as it's cooking. So it's going to help it stay moist, not dry out as much. I've stuck a little thermometer thing in the meaty part of the ribs, so I can just sort of monitor how that's going. And yeah, we'll close that up now, keep us eye on the temperatures, and come back to it in a few hours. So we're going to have a quick check on the ribs. They've been in for a few hours. Now what I'm going to do with these ribs is kind of follow a technique called the 3-2-1 method, which means you cook them in the smoker at temperature for about 3 hours, then you take them out and wrap them in foil and cook them for about 2 hours, and then you take them out again, put sauce on them, put them back in unwrapped for a further hour, and that's your 3-2-1. So for most ribs that works absolutely fine. Get that door closed, keep that heat going. For these ribs, the monsters, really thick and meaty, so I'm going to put them in uncovered for about 4 to 5 hours, then followed by 2 hours wrapped and 1 hour unwrapped.
So it's been a while now. It's been a very long while, to be fair. It's gonna be nice. Right, tuck inside, cut it up. Yeah. Get some meat.
So these are the ribs taken out of the smoker, and I've cut them in half. Quite nice bark on the outside, lovely red smoke ring there on the inside, and some really nice juicy white meat right in the middle there. So I'm going to try and slice these up. It's really tender, so it's going to be very difficult to make them look like anything like presentable. But yeah, these are going to be good, man. Cut the ribs up the best that I could. To be fair, they've ended up a little bit like pulled pork ribs, if you like. You know, there's really tender, fell to pieces, almost impossible to cut them into individual ribs, but nonetheless, this is going to be very, very nice. Perfect
smoked ribs.